A charged-up crowd of supporters showed up today outside Newark federal court, rallying in support of Democratic Congresswoman LaMonica McIver as oral arguments began on whether to dismiss charges against her, all stemming from a tense confrontation with ICE agents earlier this year outside a Newark detention center. McIver was indicted back in May, accused of assault and impeding federal officers during what her attorneys say was a lawful oversight visit, along with Newark Mayor Ras Baraka and other Congress members. That took place as ICE operations were ramping up across the country. Well, now she's fighting to have her case thrown out, alleging it was politically motivated. Senior correspondent Joanna Gagos was there inside the courtroom and outside. Joe, good to see you. Several motions were filed by the defense. Two asked for the case to be dismissed. What was the basis of those requests?
Yeah, Brianna, the first motion filed by the defense argued that this case shows evidence of selective enforcement and prosecution and vindictive prosecution. What does that mean? Well, it's an argument that there's bias in the case that treats this defendant differently than others. Defense attorney Paul Fishman compared the prosecution of Congresswoman LaMonica McIver to the pardons of the individuals who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. He argues that their pardons show a clear bias from the Trump administration, and the Congresswoman is being targeted for her political beliefs. Now, Judge Jamel Semper challenged that notion by questioning then why her two congressional colleagues who were there that day, Rob Menendez and Bonnie Watson-Coleman, weren't also arrested. As for the prosecution, that's being led by Assistant U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Mark McCarran. He argued that selective enforcement and vindictive prosecution have to show similarly positioned defendants, and their position is the Congresswoman's case does not compare to the January 6th cases.
Okay, and so then what was the other motion to dismiss?
Well, yeah, the second motion was a request to dismiss based on legislative immunity, citing the speech and debate clause that gives immunity to congressional representatives when they're operating in their legislative capacity. Now, Fishman argued the Congresswoman was there in her official capacity for an oversight visit, that her role on the Homeland Security Committee includes oversight of DHS operations, and that she was still within her capacity to oversee how ICE was treating Mayor Ras Baraka even as he was being arrested. He argues the Congresswoman was shoved during that event, and he compared McIver, who was there on official business, to the January 6th rioters who entered the Capitol without authorization, holding bats and bike racks. He says she was holding a folder.
Okay, so he's trying to draw a stark contrast there. And how did the prosecution respond to that argument?
Well, McCarran argued that her official oversight capacity ended when she concluded the tour of the facility. They want to focus their case specifically on 68 seconds of video that shows the scuffle between ICE officers and McIver, with, of course, Mayor Baraka in the middle. And that's where they allege the Congresswoman broke the law by forcibly impeding federal officers, and they say assaulting those officers. Now, after the hearing, Congresswoman McIver did address the crowd that was there rallying in her support.
I want to be clear to everyone. This process has not stopped me from doing my job. This process is not going to stop me from doing my job. I'm going to continue to show up to protect us, to protect the people of the 10th Congressional District and of New Jersey, and better yet, of this country, because we need protection, and we have to continue to hold this administration accountable. We all know why this is happening. I'm clear why this is happening. It's because I was doing my job, and I continue to do so. I'm not going to stop holding this administration accountable, not because someone appointed me to do it, but because the people of the 10th Congressional District elected me to do it.
Now, Congress members Menendez and Watson-Coleman also addressed the crowd after the hearing. They shared their take on the events of that day.
And all of a sudden, a barrage of masked, fatigued, and armed individuals assaulted upon him to arrest him. As shame, as part of that abuse, our instinct was make sure he is safe. That was our only reason, was to make sure that he was safe so that we could then go do our job.
When they couldn't bring charges against the mayor, they then brought charges against her. because they thought that by bringing charges against a black woman from the city of Newark, they could send a message to the rest of America not to challenge this administration, not to stand up for what they are trying to do in all of our communities. They were wrong that day, they are wrong today, and when LaMonica walks away from these charges, we will show America that this administration has always been wrong.
Now, we haven't seen this before, but today 4 congresswomen came from other states in support of their colleague, including Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Jasmine Crockett. Here's what they had to say.
We stand with our sister, our colleague, because we know that we are dealing with an administration that is unhinged. We know that we are dealing with a president that is lawless.
They want to see if they can get away with it. They want to test whether they can silence a sitting member of Congress who dares to ask questions. Well, the answer is hell no.
And of course, Newark Mayor Ras Baraka, whose charges were dropped by the U.S. Attorney's Office several months ago, continues to stand with Maccgyver. Today, he fired up the crowd with this speech.
She's up there in a fight. She's upstairs in a fight. And we want them to know that there are a lot of people downstairs that are in this fight with her. That are in this fight with her, that if you harm her, you harm us. That in the transgression against her is a transgression against us all. That we're not going to sit idly by. And I grew up in the same communities that she grew up in. And I'm going to tell you a secret. There's a lot of people out here who grew up in those communities too. And we all know how to fight. And damn it, y'all not going to take her without a fight.
Now, as for the motions, Judge Semper will issue a written opinion, but he has hundreds of pages to review, so no telling when that'll come. Brianna.
All right, Joanna, great reporting. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Bree.